Hi, this video will give you a quick introduction how to navigate in Outperform Planning and a few hints on how to make your life easy. We realize that starting to work with a new software product can be a bit daunting, but we want your initiation into Outperform Planning to be a pleasant experience. So this video will explain what is where, how to search, and how to manage your data scope. And as I am using the features, I may stumble into another few just handy and practical things to work with. In most cases, you will be presented with the news page. In some cases, the dashboard will open. That's a configuration, but this is sort of the starting point. Now, to the left, we find the various sections: workflows, sales, supply, scheduling, and administrator, in the case you are an administrator user. Pretty self-explanatory. Below, you find favorites, and I already have a few favorites, but when you start the application, you will not have favorites, but I will show how you can move things into the favorites. In each of these sections, you roughly see this layout: a data shelter in the left, and then some sections that relate to sales. So in sales, you will see sales forecast. A subtle thing is also that when you're in sales, the data shelter reports will be more focused towards sales, and if you are in supply, you suddenly see the list change from product customers to product warehouses. Also in supply, you have not the sales plan, the sales forecast reports, but the operations plan. That's pretty obvious. Now at the top, you will find search. And in search, you can work with the application as if you were in Google. You can just type something in and see what comes back, and then find your way to the thing that you want to work on. So if you type in supply, you, for example, get to supply parameters, which are the parameters to drive the way your supply behaves. Whilst we're at this top section, over here you have another menu that contains some application settings. There's a few other things here. This will also subtly tell you which data set that you are connected to. Over here there is the question mark for help, and the main thing is then the help desk, which will straight away bring you to our Zendesk environment. And when you are in the Zendesk environment, you're out on the web again. So to get back to the application, you point at the application icon. Then top left here, you see this hamburger menu, and the hamburger menu allows you to make some more space, to get rid of this purple side. And there is a pin to that purple side which has some subtle behavior that will be explained later on. Let's go to report now. So let's go to the forecast report, and let's take a look at what we see there. We see these tabs: home, view, sheet, and this list will always be the same, and the content will also always be the same, although depending on the context, depending on where you are, certain things will work or will not work. For example, not every report has the facility to change the settings of the report, but if you are in a report that has the facility to change the settings, then this option here will not be grayed out, but it will be active. Whilst I'm hovering here, I notice another thing, that on these buttons or actions or menu options, the hover will often tell you more of what it is, but it will also in between brackets show you the keyboard shortcut, and that's a great way to learn the product sort of as you are working with the product. The tabs do not all contain all options that are there, and that is just to keep things a little bit organized or to maintain overview. If, for example, we would put all options in every relevant tab, then you get sort of the picture that you have in this administrator tab, which is quite overloaded. So there will always be a portion of things that you need to search, like this behavior that I showed: supply parameters, supply calendar. There's sort of the list that comes up under supply. And be also reminded of this more. The more will then expand the supply section, so more and less. This will just gives you a bit more overview that there's relevant supply reports and options in the supply section, also in the administrator section, and also in the news, and also in consolidated, and even in sales there is something on supply, and under demo, but demo is an exception. that was search, and search is really there. I keep repeating that to work with the product like you are working with Google. You just type something in, see what comes back, and see if that is indeed the thing that you need. Inside the report, we find another few things. For example, you can do this and chart the row as a chart. You can also maybe view the selection in the chart, and then you can see this separate window coming up. That also works a bit like this: show selection in chart. Then you get all the rows charted. You can have different types of charts, and not every chart type, of course, is applicable. The time series are usually best represented in a horizontal bar or line graph or line chart. But what you really should also know about is at the Home tab you find monitors. If reports have monitors, then these buttons, these options will become active, and then you get a chart that is really dedicated to the business process that this report is covering. I was promising you to explain you about the hamburger menu here and the pin. And that's kind of subtle. One by one, if you press the hamburger menu, the purple side will disappear, and that will just give you more space. And space is always at a premium, so more space makes life better for working inside this report. But once you go to the next report, you need it again, and then the thing will just push the report to the side again. Also, if the menu is off on the left hand side and you go to another report like the manual forecast, then the purple side will represent itself, and that does not happen if you have this pinned, or sorry, if you have this unpinned. It is currently pinned, and if you now have it unpinned, the pin is emptied out, and then the purple side will remain absent as you navigate from report to report. You see, I open another report and the purple side, left hand side menu or area still remains absent. Another difference is that when you now call it in again, it's sort of there like a curtain on top. Now you may like that, you may not like that. The advantage is, of course, that nothing over here gets moved, so you're not losing your orientation in this sheet. The disadvantage is, of course, that this is lying on top of some of the columns that are quite relevant to tell you what the numbers are representing, what the numbers are relating to. So let's put it back on pinned, and hopefully you'll find your way to use this to your specific liking, but also to the way that you're at that moment working with the product, because at some points you will be inside a report working very intensively, and at some points you will be working from area to area, in which case keeping the purple side is probably the better deal. I point out to the settings menu, for example, when I go to the slice and dice report, which is a report that has a settings menu, you see the report settings can be changed, and in this menu you can change the aggregation level or the columns that you show on the left hand side. So we can for example add the account manager and then see how much, and we can maybe put the account manager as the first column, and then maybe we can also group by account manager, and then we can see how much each account manager is selling, provided that we put the pager. The pager is a subtle thing that I will not explain in this video, but sort of get the gist of it. The pager was set from 1 to 1. That was only showing class, and then when I set it 1 to 10, then I see all the account managers, and now I have the sales numbers by account manager. And since I have group by, I have also this expansion feature that will then tell you Klaas Hemig is selling in total this, and it's distributed across all these products. That is roughly it for what is where. We hope you can find out the rest by yourself. If not, provide us feedback and we will deepen these types of videos. But I want to roll over to another topic, which is how to manage your data scope, and that's about searching and finding and filtering. Let's take a simple report, and that's the report products. And let's type in a C here and see what happens. Well, that brings up all the products, and that zooms into all the products that have a C in the product code. Is it having a C in the product code, or is it starting with a C? Let's investigate that. And this data set is of course over convenient for demos, so these product codes are all nicely structured. But let's use in the product description, let's start with a D here and then see what happens. And you see that you get things starting with a D, but you get also other things that just have a D inside. Now, if you want to impose that you only want the things starting with a D, then this is the way to impose that. And this is now bringing up D and then something else, and therefore you get everything that starts with a D. Bit of a technical background here. If I just do D here, then in the background it's basically putting a wildcard before the D and a wildcard after the D, and therefore you get everything that has D inside, or you get everything that has choc inside. And since this demo data set is about chocolate, you get pretty much everything if you search for the choc word inside the product description. But if I make the wildcard explicit, then the system will say, okay, you take control over the wildcards, then I will show you everything that starts with choc. Hope that is clear. Now, what if you want to zoom in on precisely this one? Then of course you can go the Excel way and press copy and then put this into the field, and then you probably get this. But that's not the easiest way to do it. An easier way to do it is just to double click and then press refresh, and we already know that refresh is F5. So we press F5 and then we zoom in to just this single product. Could you have learned that in another way? Yes, because in view there is the option add to filter, like this, add to the search filter. And look also at how helpful this is to work with these buttons and the hovers. Immediately you get a hint that next time you want this, and if you're more keyboard oriented, you may want to press Ctrl-Shift-S. And this kind of subtlety is particularly convenient if I show you this, if you're in a report where it so happens that the content is editable, then this double click trick won't quite work, because double click will bring you inside the field to go and edit it. Okay, and now it's edited, it's orange, it's not saved to the database. I'm not going to save this edit, so I press Ctrl D for discard, and the Ctrl D I could have also learned this way in the discard button on the home tab. See, Ctrl D is in the hover, so I'm Ctrl D'ing it. But if you're in an editable report and you want exactly this one, then Ctrl-Shift-S brings that content into the filter box, and then a refresh or F5 will bring up that single row. So there's a lot of subtleties in this interface that you will hopefully discover, because if you discover it, it will just make your experience with the product smoother and easier. The other thing I wanted to explain is that if I go to the dark and I zoom into the dark chocolate products, and that filter here, product filter dark, if I go to the sales report, it will bring along this filtering. So the system is structured like, if you already zoomed into this set of products and you now want to look at the sales numbers, then probably you will want to retain this filtering, and we call that pass-through filtering. We've also been calling it red thread filtering, but that only works in Dutch. So it's passing through this filter content from report to report. But now, what if you just want to look at a couple of products not the dark ones necessarily, but just this one, and this one. Well, we have several mechanisms for that, and one of the mechanisms is the watch list. We can change the watch list, and that brings up this menu, and you can get several choices. A common choice is replace the existing watch list with the current selection, replace by the selection. And then there's a tick mark here that helps you decide whether you immediately want to switch it on or whether you are just building up your watch list. And remember, the watch list is a specific search set, and the watch list is there for ad hoc holding things together, bringing things together and holding things together. But with the watch list being a special member of the search set, of the family of search sets, I will drift over to search sets. And search sets are managed in this search set panel, which can be brought up. You can see here that some search set and the special search set watch list for products is on. You can see that something is active, a search set is active by this purple, and you can also double click here. But even if nothing is active, no search set is active, then this area will indicate no search set, but it will still be clickable. Active search set, no search set, click to change, it will still be clickable, and it will bring up this search set menu. And another way to bring that up is the function key F8. Now, as you can see, I already have a few search set, and for example, I can look at the finished products and apply that, and when I apply it, the report underneath will update. You can sort of get the confirmation that you've got the right things. And as you can see, it zooms in on all the finished products, which are recognized by having an F at the start. Now, what if you want the finished products, but then you don't want the dark chocolate finished products? Well, that's an example where you would include your finished products and you would exclude your dark products, and then you have the finished products that are not dark. But before we can do that, we first need to make another search set, and that's the search set of the dark products. So let's make a new one. How are we now going to find the dark products? Well, we could do that one by one, but that's kind of a laborious way of doing it, and it's also not a future robust way of doing it, because if you are cherry picking them and the integration brings in a new dark chocolate product, then of course it will not be in your cherry picked list. So a smarter way to do it would be to go for the option match filters. And if you do match filters, you need to know a little bit of the technical language, but not an awful lot. You should then just type in product desk like, so it contains the word dark, and then you do it like this. So what this says is the product description has something with dark inside the text, and the dark can be sort of floating anywhere in this string. It can be at the beginning, a middle, at the end. It can be anywhere because there are these wildcards around it. Now this seems to be quite fine. Dark products, and if I then exclude it and apply it, then you will see all the finished products, but you will see not the dark chocolate finished products. Those search sets, they can be shared, and if you share them, it means that your colleagues can use them, but only the owner or the creator of the search set can change the definition and the content of a search set. Now that's usually exploited for when in a multi-user, in a larger team of 5 to 50 people. There's just 1 or 2 people dedicated to making the search sets just right, according to the right criteria and the right filtering, and then the rest of the community can use it. The search sets that you've switched on will now also reflect themselves in the reports again. So if I open a forecast report, then I will now only be looking at the products which are not dark. The forecasting is usually dedicated to the finished, but I've got finished products minus the dark products, and therefore I see all the products that are not dark. There's one more thing I want to mention, because we've been working with search now, but what if I am in a datasheet and I just want to see what all is about white? Then I press Ctrl F for find, and that's in the sheet menu, find, this one. And then I type in white. And if I type in white, then I get to the places in the sheet where the white is appearing. And I can go to the next one, next one, next one. I can also highlight them all and then see what all has to do with white chocolate, or what all has white in its description, or maybe even in its code. It's just searching for the word white anywhere in the sheet. It's more sophisticated than that. You can also do bigger than 5,000, and then the grid will light up wherever the number is bigger than 5,000. Let's see if there's anything bigger than 50,000. No. 5,000, and then maybe 10,000. See, 10,000 is still there, but it's more towards the right, and that's the seasonality that we have in this data set, because in winter we are selling much more than in summer. That search and find behavior is also quite documented on Zendesk, and the deeper and more subtle things I invite you to read up on in Zendesk. That was all, and I hope you enjoyed this video.